Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that performance. Our friends at Playtronica were kind enough to send over their Playtron MIDI device that allows you to turn any object into a MIDI controller. You can even choose which object triggers which note, and we'll get into how it's set up shortly. In the performance, we mainly use this to launch loops and ambience and some effects, while using Dubler for drum triggers, melodies, and other musical elements. First, I'm going to break down how to set Playtron up, and then we'll go into Ableton to see how we set up the sounds, MIDI effects, and other useful Dubler tricks that you can use. So the way the Playtron works is it connects to the computer via USB. It has a little input right here. And then it has 2 slots for each note. So for example, C2, C sharp 2, D sharp 2, starting from C1 until D sharp 2. So I think a total of 16 notes you get. And what you do is you connect a wire from the note. For example, C1 is this black wire. And we connected it to this can here. So whenever I touch this, the C note launches. And we've mapped a loop in Ableton to this note. And the reason, you might have noticed during the performance, I have one of these taped around my finger. To complete the electrical current, it needs 2 inputs. So one input is when you're pressing the note. And the second input is your hand and the electric signal your hand is giving off. And as mentioned before, you can use any object with it, cans, some liquids even. Lots of people have used fruit, forks, cutlery, lots of different objects. So it's a very creative tool, and it was very fun to use it alongside Dubler because while singing melodies and while triggering drums, it's hard to play piano or other instruments at the same time. But with this, you can get expressive, you can make your drum kit however you want. So as a pair, we really enjoy using them. Now to break down our Ableton session a bit and all the sounds we use with both Dubler and the Playtron. The first sound in the track is some ambient orchestral loops that we're triggering with the cans. And this is from the Overture library that Spitfire made with output for Arcade. And here's how this sounds. In Arcade, the white notes trigger loops and the black notes on the keyboard glitch them and add effects to them. So some of these cans are the white notes, some of them are black notes. There's D sharp, C, D, E. Only 10 of the notes we were able to choose. So here's one. So for example, this is a normal loop. And then when I glitch it up, that effect turns it into a nice arpeggiator. And that was the first patch that comes in. And then for Dubler, what we did, we have both triggers and controls active. In triggers, we only have 3 triggers. This is for this trap style drum kit that comes at some point. We've only mapped 3 sounds, nothing too complicated. And then in the control section, we've set it to E minor because the entire track goes in E minor. You can also change the key in Arcade to match whatever key you're working with in Dubler. So E minor here. For this first patch with Dubler, we used a synth master preset. Without the arpeggiator, it sounds like this. And with the arpeggiator. And we also layered that one with another ARP sound also from Synth Master. And what we noticed with Synth Master is some of the CC values in the effects section in Dubler, the CC numbers as you can see for the vowels, 20 for A, 21 for E, 22 for U, they're affecting effects within Synth Master. So here you can see as I'm speaking, even the values are moving. So we have some vowel MIDI mapping going on there. Here's how this patch sounds. Together with the ARP. And then with the orchestral together, the 3 of them. With the orchestra patch, we also used one more trick. Arcade has 24 notes, so it's spread over 2 octaves, but as mentioned before, we only have 10 cans here. So we mapped this O switch to a pitch MIDI device so we can switch between the pitch values. So +12 for the first sounds. And then when I press O, we go up the octave for the other sounds. Let me show that again. So for live performances, as we always say, it's great to map little shortcuts like that for MIDI devices on your keyboard. Again, you do that with Command K. Here's a list of all the mapped keys, and then just Command K again to lose that. Another patch we use Dubler for is the sub bass. It's just comprised of 2 Ableton layers, Fizzy Sub and Herbie Funk Lead, I think. We use this pitch MIDI device to bring it down a couple octaves so we don't have to go back into Dubler and hit octave down every time we want to play this sound. We also use some vowel MIDI mapping and mapped the E vowel to this auto pan that creates tremolo. Here's how that sounds. So again, to do that, remember, all you do is hit Command M, click your parameter, open Dubler, come here to Effects and hit Map there. And then it should appear here in this list where you can set the minimum and maximum values for total control. Back to the Playtron again. We used a drum loop kit, again from Arcade, called the Freak Mode kit in the drip line. And here's how this sounds. So again, the black keys are really useful for glitching and warping the loops to make them sound more yours and more original. If you just play them normally, lots of people have these kits. So it's worth experimenting with those for more originality. The last way we use the Playtron is to launch effects using the Super Stutter Edit plugin. We've put it on the drum bus so it only affects the drums. The way it works is that you launch a MIDI note, and depending on the MIDI note you play, it has an effect preset mapped to the MIDI note. So it launches all kinds of weird effects based on whatever note you play. This is also really fun to do with a keyboard, but it was even more fun to do by using random objects. I'll play the drums and experiment with that a bit. Really, really fun. Definitely a favorite plugin. Throughout the performance, we also use lots of live techniques oriented for live performance with Ableton, but we're going to cover these in more detail in a future video, so definitely be on the lookout for that one. We've dropped some links in the description to Playtronica and to the sites of the other plugins we use during the performance. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and we'll definitely get back to you. For more information about Dubler, head to vochlea.com and subscribe for more videos. See you next time.